Hi, I'm Marcus Coward, and this is Wake Up New Bedford, and I'm here with Wise. Wise, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So, for those who know you, but especially for those who don't, help paint a picture of who you are, and you can start with where you're from.
Okay. Well, I was born and raised in New Bedford. Grew up right next to Monty's on Pleasant Street. You know, I come from a long line of musicians, so that's, you know, always been a pretty integral part of my life.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I like blank.
No. So that's where you're from. So, as far as for a long line of musicians, so how far back does it go that you know of?
As far as I know, my great grandfather was a Cape Verdean musician, singer, guitar player, same as my great grandmother, and then my grandfather, Toy Forts, also a musician, also a gymnastics coach in the area.
Sure.
And then my mother as well, she was marching band, played the flute, piccolo, a few other instruments.
Interesting.
Yeah, and then my dad is also quite a drummer. He grew up playing drums in the church, so.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, the music runs deep, and it's always been something that's been a big thing for me. You know, I love sound, I love art in general. You know, what captivates someone to create. You know, that's something that's special to me, and you know, something that I really have sort of based my whole life around at this point. I think entertainment, I guess you could call it, but art more so is
what you're passionate
my
about.
Focus. Yeah, it's my passion, and so now, you know, I DJ, I produce, I do some engineering, but I really just boiled it down to its essence, and so I just identify as a curator and purveyor of sound. So.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
So, when you're younger, elementary school, where are you going to school?
So I started at Gomes School. I did a couple years there. I did a couple years at Kearney Academy.
Sure.
And then from there I went to Friends Academy from 4th grade until 8th grade.
Okay.
After that I did 2 years at St. Andrews in Barrington, and then 2 years at the Winchendon School in Winchendon, Mass.
Okay. You might be the first person like I've really talked to who went to Friends Academy.
I say culturally, you know, it's a very white predominant school, but very eye-opening in a way. You know, I got to see a perspective that I would have never seen, I feel like, if I stood here. You know, I got to go do a lot of cool things, and you know, meet some of my lifelong friends, kids that I still talk to today.
Sure.
And my dad was a coach and a phys ed teacher. He still is, and he's now the athletic director and director of alumni relations. But he's been there the whole time I was there. My brother and sister went there as well. So very, very interesting, sort of like culture shocking shift to go from Kearney to Friends, and from New Bedford to Dartmouth, and you know, just being around that crowd, I feel like really opened my eyes at a very young age, and I'm very grateful for that.
And so when you were there, it took some adjusting, but did you end up getting comfortable, or were you kind of uncomfortable while you were there?
Yeah, it was super welcoming.
Oh, really?
I will say that.
Cool.
Yeah, like as soon as I got there, you know, it's very small classes. I think my 4th grade class maybe had 12 kids in the room.
Yeah.
And then like 30 total in the whole grade.
Sure.
So it's very tight knit. We all we're very close coming up through school, and a lot of those kids were there since preschool too. So yeah, it was very welcoming, and you know, I always felt fairly comfortable. You know, there's just some things that you just can't. That just won't be there. You know, in a different setting.
Sure.
There's just things missing, but I will say it was very comforting, very welcoming, and you know, outside of some minor things. It was
Sure.
it was a great experience.
What was
for
your
sure.
favorite activity to do there?
Oof. I try to be as unbiased as possible, but I think phys ed class we had
Okay.
was probably
Sure.
the best. He was like a celebrity over there. The kids
Really?
loved him. He's been a great coach. Honestly, one of the best coach that I've had.
Wow. Okay.
And yeah, like really just he was one of the teachers for me that you know, even though it's physical education, he's very much the type of person that ties every lesson and idea into
Yeah.
life. And you know, why am I, you know, making you fight through those last few push-ups? You know, it's resilience. It's
Yeah.
teaching, you know, character traits that are valuable to
Absolutely.
your future. And so I think that closeness, you know, seeing him also share that lesson and those messages with other kids, as well as myself, was really something really rewarding, and that was always somewhere that I felt really comfortable.
Sure.
It's my dad coaching,
Yeah.
so it's like,
No, that's lit.
You know,
That's definitely
yeah,
lit.
that was I definitely loved that. And then I'll say the outdoors activities that they had us do. We had a ropes course on campus and
Okay.
in a garden. So my sixth grade English teacher, his name was Steve Wallach. He passed a few years ago, but he was a just one of those teachers that you'll never forget, man. Like,
Sure.
You know, he made me really enjoy reading and helped me develop my affinity for linguistics and, you know, just being well spoken and having an extensive vocabulary to really be able to articulate anything, whether it's how I'm feeling or, you know, what something is, whatever it is. You know, that has been something that's just been instrumental in my life.
And so, even before getting there, would you have considered yourself an athlete?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
I was playing basketball since I could walk, pretty
Really?
much. Yeah.
Okay.
My grandfather being a gymnastics coach as well, that was something that I was in very early. If you're familiar with Tonka's tumblers, yeah, it's the if you ever saw the kids in the parade in the red shirts doing
Okay.
cartwheels and
Sure.
and backflips and stuff. That was my grandfather. That was his program that he
Got you. Okay.
took on from Manny Costa years ago, and so that was a program that was running in the city for over 50 years, and you know, taking kids off the street, putting them into a program that just stimulates them. And so yeah, that was something I was doing from very young as well.
And so you did the gymnastics?
Yeah. I was
okay.
in the parade doing the right handsprings, cartwheels.
Really?
Yeah. If you look back at some old pictures of the parade, you'll probably see me in there.
Can you still do any of that stuff?
I could probably still get a front handspring out. But
Yeah.
I tried doing a back bend the other day, and my back tightened up in about 6 different places. So kind of like I used to, but
For sure. Yeah, like
still there a little bit.
stretching is definitely one of the most important things.
Oh yeah, especially like I'm more into martial arts, and I'm like seeing
okay.
now like I should have stood in gymnastics, man, because some of those kicks and some of the maneuvers just take a lot of flexibility and stuff that I'm, you know, having to redevelop. But yeah, that mobility and it's helpful in so many aspects of life, just your general day to day. You know,
Yeah.
if you're limber and you have a good stretch routine, you know, you're not gonna be tightening up your lower back, all that, you know. And I see that in my dad. He's like almost 50, and he's still hitting the gym every morning.
Yeah, okay, great. And so do you feel like you were talking about how big of an influence your dad was in you enjoying phys ed when you were at Friends? But what sports were you doing? Was it just one major one?
No, I was playing all kinds of sports. When I was at Friends, it was soccer, basketball, and lacrosse.
Okay.
I really wanted to play football. My mom, as a nurse, and with all the stuff coming out about CTE at the time, she was like,
Ooh,
absolutely
yeah,
not. Was not having that.
Sure.
But lacrosse was her compromise. So,
Sure. Okay.
yeah, so I started DLAX when I went to Friends. I was playing soccer, basketball. I picked up crew at some point for a few years. But
Friends had a
those-
crew team?
No.
I
That was
see.
it was a New Bedford program.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. But those were my three sports that I stuck with through middle school, high school, and I'll still play basketball today.
Sure. And so you talked about how music is in your blood, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So from your family's perspective, what kind of music were they influencing you with?
Ooh.
When you're young, what music do you hear in the background?
So I'll start with my grandfather. He was very much like the Motown, funk, soul. So like a lot of Temptations, Diana Ross, the Blue Jays, Tower of Power, the OJs, all of that. That was him.
Okay.
Anytime that I was with him, around him, that's what I was hearing. My
Sure.
parents were. My parents, it was a lot of the newer rap and R&B of the time.
Okay.
So, you know, a lot of Jadakiss from my dad, a lot of Nas. My mom with the Lauryn Hill, Keisha Cole.
Yep.
She went to Grambling State as well, so she brought some of that like southern inspiration back. So like Outkast.
Where's that?
It's in Louisiana.
Oh, okay. And that's a college?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, got you. Okay.
So like the Outkast, Lil Jon, Bone Thugs and Harmony, that
Okay.
stuff.
Sure.
And then her younger brother, my uncle, we're about 10 years apart. He was very much into like the rock of that time. So like
Sure.
the Linkin Park,
Yeah.
Blink-182,
Yeah.
Taking Back Sunday, Paramore,
Okay.
that kind of stuff. So I had a real interesting blend of music as a child, and this was stuff that, you know, I continue to listen to this day. Linkin
Sure.
Park remains one of my
No, they're
favorite
goated.
bands
Yeah,
of
come
all
on.
time. Like, yeah, a lot of inspiration from a lot of places though.
And so when you're young, is it just you appreciating it and loving to listen to it, or do you also grow a fascination of wanting to make music when you're young, or does that come later?
It's both. It's
Okay.
both for sure. You know, I just remember being that age, like I could still remember my first time listening to Aquemini by Outkast, and you know those chills running through my body, just that feeling of like
Wow.
when you listen to amazing music for the
Yeah.
first time and you really just get those goosebumps.
Yeah.
That
It's unforgettable.
yeah, absolutely. And so that was very much a part of it. And then also at some point, I just began to take elements of these songs and sort of create ideas in my head about like, you know, blending genres and that sort of thing. And then with my grandfather, he would do some of his own original pieces, and that was where some of my like early instrumental practice came in, where I was playing some percussion instruments, a little bit of guitar, and so yeah, it kind of all started to happen at the same time.
Okay. What instruments were you learning how to play?
Congas, maracas, guitar. I started learning piano when I went to Friends. I picked up the bass in high school. And I did like drums, like not marching drums, but I guess like orchestral drums. I was on a snare
Sure.
as like a part of a symphony through elementary school.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of different stuff.
Did you have a favorite you like to play?
Oh, I love percussion.
Yeah?
By far. It's so intuitive for me. I feel like with guitar and piano particularly, it was always kind of a struggle to understand the theory, because I'm much more of, you know, it's much more of a feeling for me. And so everything that I learned with guitar and piano for the most part was by ear. Even though they were teaching us theory, I was still like, if I want to learn something, I'm gonna just listen to it, figure out the tones, and just play it. But yeah, the percussion instruments for me, by far my favorites.
And do you feel like a lot of this just kind of came naturally to you, as far as for not just this love of music, but you being able to learn it as well, just by like listening to it?
Yeah. It's always been a very intuitive thing for me. You know, even with like my early, like my start in production on GarageBand when I was like 12 years old, I had no clue how to use it, but I knew the song was already in my head. It was just a matter of getting it out onto the DAW.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's always just been something that was felt, and you know, none of my family members ever really tried to like shove it down my throat or anything like that. So it always came pretty naturally.
Do you remember? So even before I say that, obviously you liked music from a musician standpoint and kind of a production standpoint, but was there ever a fascination with the writing side?
Yeah, actually. So for the little bit of time I was doing production from like 2012 to 2015 on GarageBand, that was like my start. And then my Mac actually got stolen, unfortunately, during an AAU trip.
Wow.
So then after that, that was actually like my last year at St. Andrews. I went to Winchendon, and so as a part of that like end of the year program, it's a 2-week independent project period. So you can do something that has already been made by the school. Some kids did like a fly fishing program.
Okay.
Other kids, it was like a Model UN type situation. And so me and a couple of friends decided to do a music production and composition project where we basically were writing and recording music for 2 weeks in school. Yeah.
Okay.
It was a boarding school too. So like we'd literally wake up, go to a room that we like outfitted into a studio, and we were just making music, and my boy was teaching me how to make beats, but at the time I was much more inspired to write. And so that's what I was doing at that time. I was writing, I was rapping, and so I did that for about a year or two. And towards my high school graduation, I hopped on FL Studio and I just started messing around, and I just fell in love with making beats. And I think a part of that too was like at the time I was using YouTube beats, the type beats, and I couldn't do it anymore. I was like, this is, some of them are good, you know, that was like where Cash Money AP blew up, and that was during that like 2016, 2017 era where he was like reaching his peak. So there was definitely some fire.
Yeah, sure.
But at the same time, it's like I'm feeling inspired to speak on this specific thing, but to track down a beat that is was very difficult. And so I started to get into the production. I just fell in love.
Yeah, instead of looking for that feeling, you're like, why don't I make it?
Yeah, exactly. And then the writing part, I just didn't even feel like rapping anymore. I was like, you know, I appreciate the ability to articulate, but I feel like, you know, I could use my words in a different way on a different front and have that same impact, because producing and making beats is like really, I really love it.
Yeah,
know?
Sure. What kind of type beats were you looking for, or found yourself gravitating towards?
At that time, it was very much like that, somewhere between like Juice WRLD and like the Rich Forever sound, like Jay Critch, Famous Dex, Rich the Kid, that type of sound. That was very much what I was going for.
I know exactly what you mean.
So yeah, and then, I mean, obviously all the inspirations that I had growing up sort of came back to roost, and you know, I started to gravitate more towards the classic rap, and those beats were a lot harder to find. So that was pretty much where I started with that, and from there it was.
Could you finish
no,
your thought?
That was it.
And so you might have a different answer now, but I'm curious, at that time when you were really getting into producing, who would you have rated your top 3 producers as? And then I'm gonna ask you why, but think about, who first, your top 3 producers.
Okay, my top 3 producers for that time.
Yeah.
When I first started producing, I would say definitely Kanye, Tyler the Creator.
Oh, okay.
And I'd say Jay Dilla too. That's another major one. And I didn't really find that sound for a couple of years, but those were always like 3 of my major inspirations.
And so tell me a little bit why for each. Okay.
Okay, so for Kanye, I grew up on Kanye.
Yeah.
You know, college dropout, graduation, 808s and heartbreaks, like that was my childhood.
Yeah, same.
You know
Yeah,
what I
yeah, of
mean?
course.
So that was, you know, always that was a very integral part of my musical development. Tyler the Creator as well. I found Tyler in 2012. I think I was, in 6th grade.
Yep.
And so, especially being at Friends too, I feel like it was a very interesting sort of combination of events because at the time, if you listen to Wolf or any of his early projects, it's very much like him speaking about feeling like an outcast, not fitting in, being a just rebellious also, and that's very much like a part of my personality. I feel like I'm a bit of a disruptor, and I question everything. You know, I'm not someone to follow blind orders, so I very much resonated with Tyler's message, and then only later realized that he was doing a majority of the production too.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. Like when you said that, I'm like, I guess that makes sense. I haven't known him to like really work with other producers, but like I never even would have thought of him as like an artist producer, but
but he's nice, like multiple instruments, the whole nine. And then Jay Dilla, that was another producer that I found in middle school that I didn't even realize that I had found because I was listening to so many artists that were being produced by him, Common, Talib, you know, the what was it, the J-Lib collab album with him and Madlib, like all that stuff was, you know, I was being exposed to coming up, and then as I started to do my digging, I was like, okay, like these are, you know, people that understood it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
that really figured out how to just really grab your attention and make something that's creatively potent.
Yeah.
You know?
And like you brought up, that similar to you, who's not someone who is trying to look at it from a music theory standpoint, like all the three people you just mentioned really work off of inspiration and make that creative music that just has like that X factor that's hard to explain, but they have their own sound.
Right.
You know, like they have something that they're inspired by and that other people will be inspired by as well.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like to the point now you could put on a Kanye beat, a Tyler beat, a Jay Dilla beat, a Madlib beat. Like they really do have their own sounds. Like,
oh yeah.
And now as a producer too, like I'll be paying attention because I'm like, like he was that clap in 2 other songs too.
That's crazy.
So now it's like when I hear certain sounds, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Hit Boy, or that's Wonder Girl, or that's you know what I mean, like that type of thing. But yeah, like making a defining sound is truly a challenge, but something that's like, once you get it, it's magic, you know.
Do you feel like you found your sound at this point, or are you still looking for it?
I'm still looking for it. I feel like I still bounce around a lot of genres because I get inspired by a lot of things. So like I'll make anything from house to drum and bass to boom bap to underground, rage beats, anything, you know. And I feel like now I'm more sort of honing in on my sound, and I really do love the vintage grit, you know, the classic hip hop sound, but I want to tie in some of my own elements into that and make it something that's, you know, I'm not just trying to make a 90s boom bap type beat.
Sure.
You know?
And so I did ask you if those were your favorite artists back then. Have they changed at this point for favorite producers? Or those are still the GOATs in your mind?
I'd say those are still some of my favorites. I have so many at this point that I listen to and draw inspiration from that it's like, you know, I'd say they definitely are still in my top 5. I would add at this point, I'd definitely add Alchemist to that. And probably Madlib as well. That'd probably be like my top 5.
Sure.
Oh, but then it's like, you know, you got Premier.
You have,
Swiss Beats and all these other producers who have made some of my favorite songs.
Pharrell, Timbaland.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
Yeah. But those are definitely still some of my main inspirations.
So, you said that in high school, during that 2-week project, that you were working with other people.
Yeah.
At this point, or I mean, as you were kind of developing after that, were you still collaborating with a lot of other artists, or were you kind of on your own path, finding things for yourself?
Yeah, so I definitely was doing some collaborating for quite a while. My boy Fendi, he's one of the kids that we started that project together, and that was kind of the beginning of both of us pursuing music. And he's still singing, performing to this day. He's out in the Mass in New York area, and so we'll do stuff here and there. Any artists that I really gravitate towards that I like their sound, and I feel like it's quality, I'll reach out to for collaboration. But more so now, it's more about quality control for me.
Sure.
And not just sending off beats to any artist who's gonna give me the time of day, but more so curating my artists and scouting and seeing who has a sound profile that's gonna sonically work with what I'm doing.
And so, you having not gone to high school in New Bedford, do you feel like you're at this point disconnected in a way with the people who have been here since they were younger, or do you feel like you went away, came back, and you're just as connected as ever?
I think now, at this point in time, I feel more connected than ever. Coming out of high school, though, it was a very strange thing, because I always had friends in the city from hooping, so all my guys that I play at the Y or at Gomes School or Buttonwood or whatever, those are always my guys, and
sure.
I've known them since we was playing at Denison, 6-7 years old. But it was a bit of a disconnect, because outside of that sort of collective of people, I didn't really get to know anyone in my city until I started pursuing the music, and then at that stage it was mainly musicians.
Sure.
And so now at this point, I've been, getting more involved in the community and showing up to events and just, rubbing shoulders with a lot of people. And now I feel like, a true New Bedford citizen. I felt like I was kind of
on the outside,
a tourist in my own town kind of feel. But I think now I've kind of cleared that up. But then COVID too was another major thing. That was a year and a half that I could have been, out networking with whoever, but we were in the house making beats all day.
Was that a productive time for you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I took that time. It was crazy the way that happened, because right before things sort of started to happen with the COVID, I was reading a book called The Four Agreements.
Oh yeah, I heard about it. Okay.
It really opened my eyes and sort of helped me to self-realize the way I really want to lead my life.
Okay.
And so that sort of helped me to get into a routine. Once the lockdown happened and I was home all day, I'm very much the type of person where I'll beat myself up if I'm not doing anything all day for days on end.
Yeah.
I definitely have those days where I'll stay in the crib and play Xbox.
Have your lazy day. We all need that.
Yeah. But for the most part, I'd get up, I'd go for a 3-4 mile run, come back, play with my dogs for a little bit, chill with my little brother. Go lock in on beats for the rest of the day, and just be in my room. And I reorganized my whole thing to where the whole wall of my room was, my desk, my speakers, the monitors, my mixing console, instruments, my turntable.
You made it so you could lock in.
Yeah. It was literally bed, desk, and 2 dressers for clothes.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that was a super productive time for me. That was like, you know, outside of music too, that gave me time to like start studying like investing and things like that. And so I started to develop a portfolio, and
Sure.
you know, a lot of things outside of music sort of came together for me during that time as well.
So that really wraps up part 1. In part 2, I want to talk to you more about where you got your name Wise, your Grammy nomination, and all the other things you're doing besides just producing. You know, you
For sure.
have a lot of other things going on that we're going to talk about more in part 2. Okay?
No doubt.
So thank you everyone for watching. This has been Wise. You're going to learn a lot more about him in part 2, so make sure you check that out. Thank you so much for watching. Catch us in part 2. Peace.